Remember when Netflix felt like a golden ticket? Every show, every movie, all in one place for the price of a pizza. Fast forward to today, and streaming feels more like a maze of subscriptions, missing shows, and rising bills. The dream? It's slipping away, and in the shadows, piracy is making a comeback nobody expected. But before I reveal how the streaming giants lost control and pirates took the crown, do me a quick favor. Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It helps me out more than you know. Okay, let's begin. Part 1. The Great Betrayal. In 2017, the streaming future was a utopia. Piracy was declared dead. Netflix had won. For $8.99 a month, you had virtually every movie and every TV show available to you. There were no sketchy torrent sites, no malware, no pop-ups, and certainly no tedious multi-platform subscriptions. Just click and watch. This was the elegant, simple solution to the chaos of cable and the moral gray zone of digital theft. The promise was clear: convenience and value. Give people a superior, legal product at a reasonable price, and they will gladly leave the high seas. And for a glorious moment, it worked. Piracy plummeted to historic lows, reaching just 130 billion visits globally in 2020. The war was over, and the streaming giants were victorious. But by 2024, something impossible happened. Illegal piracy website visits didn't just rise, they exploded to over 216 billion in a single year, a 66% surge in just 4 years. That is higher than the number of visits before Netflix even went global. The companies that had conquered piracy didn't just fail to hold the line, they actively resurrected their greatest enemy, fueling its growth by betraying every single principle that had made them successful in the first place. This wasn't a tactical defeat. This was a spectacular, self-inflicted financial suicide committed by billion-dollar executives. Now, over 76% of young people admit to pirating content, even while still paying for legitimate subscriptions. Modern piracy sites boast interfaces that are objectively better than the official platforms, and the industry is staring down a staggering $13 billion in losses by 2027. How did the architects of the new entertainment age commit this level of corporate malpractice? The story begins with the most predictable yet unforgivable sin: greed. Part 2. The enshittification of value. The initial promise of streaming was always to be the great cable cutter. It was supposed to be lean, affordable, and consolidated. That promise is now a punchline. Let's look at the numbers. In the last 5 years alone, the standard, ad-free Netflix subscription has jumped from $8.99 to nearly $18 a month. Disney Plus, which launched promising affordable family entertainment at $6.99, is now charging more than double that. HBO Max, now rebranded to Max, charges almost $21 a month for its highest tier plan. As the Campanile noted, in 2025, even services like YouTube TV, designed to replace cable, have soared from a 2017 cost of $35 a month to over $82.99 monthly. The average American household now spends close to $60 a month just on streaming subscriptions. But the price hike is only half the story. The other, more insidious problem is fragmentation, a process that journalist Gabriel Five Rindborg described in The Guardian as the enshittification of streaming. We are no longer living in the era of a single subscription. Want to watch The Office? That's Peacock. Need to catch up on Game of Thrones spin-offs? That's Max. The Marvel Universe is locked away on Disney Plus, and your favorite nostalgic kids shows? They might be split between Hulu and Paramount. To get the key content your family wants, the shows that dominate water cooler talk, you need 6 or 7 different subscriptions. The total bill easily rockets past $100 a month before you even press play. You didn't cut the cable. You simply replaced one monolith with a hydra of smaller, individually more expensive, and less convenient mini monoliths. Imagine a family around their kitchen table, calculator out, trying to figure out which streaming service they can afford to cancel this month. They're no longer asking, "What should we watch?" They're asking, "Where is the content we want? And how many accounts do we need to log into to see it?" The executives like Disney CEO Bob Iger openly admitted their true goal: "We would love to have the margins that Netflix has." They weren't trying to serve the customer. They were trying to squeeze them by prioritizing short-term profits over customer satisfaction. The companies that promised to replace expensive cable became more expensive than the cable they replaced. Part 3. The policing of families. Raising prices was just the warm-up act. What Netflix did next crossed a line that shattered the last remaining trust between the industry and its viewers: the password sharing crackdown. We all remember the iconic tweet from Netflix in 2017. "Love is sharing a password." It went viral. It was cool. It was human. The company understood that families share accounts, college kids use their parents' logins, and that's not stealing, it's connection. It was a core part of the culture they built. But behind the scenes, internal documents show the executives were already discussing password sharing as a revenue problem. While publicly celebrating sharing with heart emojis, they were privately plotting to destroy it. The panic officially set in during 2022, when Netflix reported losing over 1 million subscribers in a single quarter, the first such decline in its history. Investors demanded action. The solution? They declared the behavior they had celebrated for years to be theft, claiming 100 million households were stealing from them. In 2023, the crackdown launched. If you logged in from a non-primary location, Netflix demanded you prove you lived there. College students were locked out of their family accounts right before finals. Parents traveling for work suddenly lost access to their own subscriptions. That'll be an extra $6.99 per month per person. Part 4. The content apocalypse. As if fragmentation and the crackdown weren't enough, the companies committed the final, most baffling act of corporate nihilism: content destruction. HBO, now Max, spent millions creating the acclaimed sci-fi series Westworld. It earned Emmy nominations, defined the network's prestige brand, and became a cultural phenomenon. It cost HBO $10 million per episode. Then, Warner Bros. Discovery deleted it from its own platform. Gone. Vanished as if it never existed. The reason? To avoid paying residuals to the cast and crew. This strategy, known as content impairment, involves removing shows from the platform, claiming them as business losses, and getting massive tax write-offs. HBO would rather erase its own masterpiece than pay the people who created it. Westworld was not an isolated incident. As one executive told investors, "We continue to aggressively manage our cost base." Translation: we will delete anything that costs us a penny in residuals. This is the madness of the streaming age. Companies spend millions to create art, then spend more money to legally erase it. Part 5. The pirate advantage. While streaming services were busy deleting their own content, hiking prices, and punishing their customers, something revolutionary was happening in the darker corners of the internet. The pirates had adapted. As Gabe Newell, the co-founder of Valve, Steam, once observed, "Piracy is not a pricing issue, it's a service issue." Today's piracy platforms offer what legal streaming used to promise: everything. Gone are the days of sketchy torrent sites loaded with toolbars and pop-ups. The new platforms look like professionally designed, legal streaming services. They feature clean, minimalist designs, sleek search bars that actually work, movie posters, user ratings, and instant streaming. They are the alternative to Netflix that the legal services failed to become. Here is the truth: the pirates kept every promise the streaming industry broke. They offer a demonstrably better user experience. While streaming executives focused on quarterly profits, lawsuits, and password crackdowns, the pirates focused on convenience and service. Guess which approach customers preferred? Part 6. The mass exodus. The result of this spectacular failure of corporate execution was the largest, most significant migration in internet history. The 216.3 billion visits to piracy sites in 2024 were not isolated incidents. They were a collective act of customer rebellion. This is not some niche activity. It is a mainstream behavior. Demographics clearly show who is leading the charge: Gen Z and millennials. A whopping 76% of young people admit to pirating. They aren't abandoning legal streaming entirely. They are simply using both systems to build the entertainment package that the industry refuses to provide. The financial damage is catastrophic and real. The streaming services are projected to lose an astronomical $13 billion by 2027. To put that number in perspective, that is more than the annual GDP of entire nations. The US alone loses billions annually to digital piracy. The economic output of entire states vanishes into the digital void. We see the consequences in the boardroom. Warner Bros. Discovery posted a staggering $10 billion loss in 2024. The piracy resurgence costs tens of thousands of American jobs every year, including sound engineers, editors, writers, and production assistants whose careers are erased because customers fled to illegal alternatives. The corporate titans, convinced of their own unsinkability, steered directly into the iceberg of customer rebellion. They believed customers had nowhere else to go. They believed their control over content was absolute. They were wrong. Customers always have a choice. The industry analysts are struggling to spin the disaster. As one admitted, the industry has no idea how to fix this mess. Part 7. Conclusion. The streaming wars are over. They ended not with a bang, but with a whimper of price hikes, error codes, and deleted content. The fundamental lesson is simple and enduring. Convenience and value always win. When legal options become fragmented, inconvenient, and overpriced, customers will find an alternative. When companies prioritize short-term profit margins and corporate tax loopholes over the basic satisfaction and trust of their audience, they don't just lose customers, they create their own competition. The customers won, and their weapon of choice was the very piracy that streaming was supposed to eliminate forever. If today's studios want to survive the storm, they need to rediscover that fundamental truth. The customer is always right. Only time will tell how many companies survive this sinking. The only certainty is that the days of the $8.99 all-in-one streaming utopia are gone, and the Jolly Roger is flying high once again. What do you think? Which streaming service have you recently canceled? And what was the final straw? Let me know in the comments below.